Good morning, Year 12. So today we're looking at float times. So fill in the red words here, but let me talk through it while you do. So the float time is basically the difference between an EST and an LST. There is a little bit more to it, but the idea is if something has a float time of 3 minutes, it means we can delay starting that activity and still finish the entire task at the same time. Otherwise, I just think you have 3 minutes to chill as well. So chill out for 3 minutes. So if you go up, I just want to look at the last example up here. So I'm just going to go to a fresh one. So if you forward or backward scan on that last example from last lesson, this is what you should have had. So this was the very last example, just above the float times. I'm going to talk through some float times with you for this activity. So let's look at activity E. Let's think about this. The earliest start time for activity E is 9 minutes in, but the latest time you could possibly start activity G is 14 minutes in. So we know that that's what those mean. So if the earliest time I can start activity E is 9 minutes, it takes 4 minutes to complete. That gives me 9 plus 4 is 13 minutes. So I could be ready for activity G 13 minutes into this whole activity. But it doesn't have to be, if I don't want to, start it until 14 minutes in. So that gives me a float time of 1 minute. So that's all it is. But if you have a look down here, activity A, okay, well, we start at 0. It takes 3 minutes to do, but activity C and B, one of them, they need to be started 3 minutes in, which means activity A has a float time of 0. So if we keep going, activity C, the earliest time we can start is 3 minutes in. Takes 8 minutes to do, so 3 plus 8 gives me 11, but the activity D doesn't have to be started until 12 minutes in, so it also has a float time of 1. So essentially what I'm doing, if you're looking at just any kind of example, if I write it like a formula, so this is the EST, LST, EST and LST, and I'll call it A for activity and T in here for time. The formula says that we take the EST from the one before, and what we've been doing is we add the time. So we take our EST and we add on this here, our time frame. Now that answer, what we've been doing is we're subtracting it from the LST of the next box, the latest possible start time. And that right there is your formula if you want to use that to calculate float times. But you don't have to use the formula. You can just keep thinking about it logically if you want to. It's up to you. So go ahead if you like and fill in the rest of the float times. I'll talk through the rest though if you want me to. 11 minutes is the earliest time to start activity D. Plus 4 gives me 15. Next one doesn't have to be started till 16, so that's also 1. Activity F. Earliest time is 9 minutes. Plus 7 gives me 16 minutes. But activity, this one has to be started in 16 minutes, so that gives me a 0 float time. All right, what's left? G has to be started, early start time is 13 minutes, takes 2 minutes to do, that's 15. Next one has to be started by 16 minutes, so that gives me 1. And activity H, 16 takes 3, needs to be done in 19, so it has a 0. Now once you've labelled all the float times, what we can do is identify a critical path. A critical path is the path where all the float times are 0. So now I'm just going to follow dot to dot nearly all the times where I have a float time of 0. Now did I do B's float time? No, I didn't. Hang on. B needs to be started by 3, takes 6 minutes to do, that's 9. Next one has to be, so it has a float time of 0. I was just missing that one. So now following my dot to dot, you can see my critical path. So if the question asked you for a critical path, my answer would be the critical path is A, B, F, H. Okay. All right, and that's it. That's today's lesson. So we're just going to get some more difficult networks happening. So now I want you to go through the example 2 here, put all your boxes on, label the float times, identify the critical paths. Pause the video now and give it a go if you like. All right, that should be your answers to your LST and ESTs. Now go ahead and label your float times. All right, so there is my float times all labelled. So now dot to dot along the zeros will give me a critical path. So there's my critical path. Now, we have to actually answer the question. Labelling everything on a network isn't answering the question. So I would tell the marker the critical path is equal to activity A, C, F, G, J, K. And then I would put float times. And then we're going to list each one. So the float times we only need to mention are the ones that are not on the critical path. So I'll say, okay, B is 12, E is 12, H is 11, and D is 25. And that's it. All right, give this last one a go for me. Pause the video, give it a go, and I will too. All right, guys, there it is. I think I've got them all there. Hopefully I didn't miss any, but hopefully they're all the values you got. I did rush that one a bit, so hopefully I haven't made any errors. But that's today's work, okay? Don't worry about the HSC question if you don't want to. You can give it a go, but I'll leave that solution till next week. I'll post up my exercises that I want you to do attached to this video file. All right, see you tomorrow.